Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is the video version of my Tech Guy podcast. We cut this down a little bit so you don't have to watch 6 hours of video every single week, but rest assured, you're seeing the best of the Tech Guy show. What you're about to see combines shows 707 and 708 from the weekend of October 9th and 10th, 2010. Enjoy. Well, a good day to you. Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Yes, it's time to talk computers and the internet, cell phones and camcorders, MP3 players, home theater. Have I left anything out? Digital photography. We do a lot of that. If you want to join the fun and talk, ask a question, make a suggestion, I'm here for you, baby. I'm here for you. Let me give you the phone number. It is 8888 Ask Leo. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. And if you're outside the U.S., because it's a 888 number, toll free number, you can dial using Skype out or some other voice over internet protocol. Almost all of them will allow you to make free calls to toll free numbers in the U.S. So it's +1 888 827 5536. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Oh, there's so much to talk about. As always, so much to talk about. We'll start off. I'll give you some of the big stories of the tech week. You know, during the week, mostly what I do is tech news. We do a lot of, I do a podcast network that's filled with, you know, we cover Windows specifically and Macintosh specifically, open source software. We do news roundtables and stuff. And so really, I'm steeped, if you will, in the news of the technology world. And sometimes I perhaps maybe get a little short-sighted and think, this is a really big story. And most people go, eh. But I really think this is a big story. This one really is a big. This is, well, all right. May you be the judge. Television. That's huge, right? Everybody, yeah, we all watch TV. It's, you know, in fact, it puzzles me because I thought for a long time the number of hours Americans watched television was dropping, and then I looked, and it's actually gone up. It's like 6 hours a day of TV. What the heck is going on here? 6 hours a day. I think what happens, it must be, the only thing I can think of is you turn it on, we turn it on in the morning and leave it on all day. And that counts as our 6 hours because it's just always on. But are you watching it? Are you sitting? How many do we sit in front of the TV still these days? I guess we do for some things. American Idol. Everybody sit in front of the TV watching that. That's for sure. Playoff games. I was glued to the TV. But if it's like Good Morning America, you know, you kind of have it on. You're making the eggs. You're making lunch for the kids. You're rushing around getting dressed, you know. Blow drying your hair. I do that. It takes me hours. This look does not come easy. No, no, no. Beauty is pain. I know that. So, you know, it's on in the background. In fact, I know this because the producers of all of those morning shows, the Today Show, Good Morning America, whatever the CBS show is called, it's not called anything. It has no name. It's just the CBS morning show. The show which shall remain nameless. The producers of these shows know that they're actually doing a radio show. Because nobody's really, I mean, people are moving around. They're not looking at the picture, so they make sure that everything they do can be listened to. You don't have to see the pictures. And if you watch it, you kind of, oh, yeah, it makes sense. It's a radio show in the morning. Nevertheless, I think if you take all the screen time, and you combine the computer time and nowadays the smartphone time and the television time, yeah, it's probably more than 6 hours that we spend looking at LCD screens. Maybe it's 10 hours. I don't know. It's a lot of time we spend looking at LCD screens. Well, I think the big shift, the big story, the thing that's most exciting that's coming up is that we are now getting televisions that connect to the internet seamlessly, easily, well, sort of seamlessly, sort of easily. And we are starting to watch content that isn't just generated by the television networks or by the cable channels, but is generated by people, you know, sitting in little cottages in the middle of nowhere. Oh, like me? Yes, like me, creating content that appear on your big screen TV, you know, in the same program guide as NBC, CBS, and ABC. Now, I think, of course, I have a little bit of a dog in this, and I'm actually doing these little cottage broadcasts, but I think this is a sea change. Because, remember when I was a kid, I hate starting any sentence that way. When I was a kid, we had 3 channels. 3 channels, and that was a lot compared to when my dad was a kid, because he had no channels. He had the radio. We had 3 channels and 3 networks, and that was, it was ABC, CBS, NBC. There was no Fox, CW. There was no HBO. You watched, and it was on a rabbit ears on a TV. And then they got UHF, and now maybe you have 7 or 8 channels. And that's what you watch. And you watch what's on when it's on, because there's no way to record it. There's no way to get back to it. So, when Ed Sullivan's on with the Beatles on Sunday night, you tune that in. Well, that wasn't that long ago. I know to the younger people in the audience, I perhaps seem older than dirt, but in fact, it wasn't that long ago. And now, in the last 20 years, what happened? Cable television, you've got hundreds of channels. Well, get ready. Get ready, because but you basically have an infinite number of channels now. You have the entire internet available to you. So a number of companies, Apple TV, that little hockey puck thing came out this last couple of weeks. It looks like a hockey puck with rounded edges. It's almost exactly the same size, with squared edges. I mean, and it just hooks up to your TV and hooks up to the internet, and that's all. And you have a little remote. And what is on there? Well, the internet, iTunes and Netflix. Content you get over the internet. Now, iTunes gives you some podcasts and stuff, but it's kind of limited. It's kind of limited. And now if you have an Xbox 360 or a PlayStation 3, or if you have a Wii, you can put a disc in there, and you can watch Netflix. You can watch more stuff. And the next step up of that is something I've talked about a lot that I love, and I'm a big fan of, the Roku. You've seen those. Those are little boxes also. They just came out with an update. And those get Netflix, Amazon. Amazon's got a lot of stuff on demand. They don't get iTunes, but they get practically everything else. You can even watch the nightly news after the fact. So you can actually literally watch the NBC nightly news on your Roku box after the fact. You don't need a cable subscription. You just need bandwidth. Well, stand back, because these are just like little dipping the toe in the water kind of things. To this week, the Google TV device that we've kind of been interested in from Logitech, the Logitech Review was announced. And we now know a lot more about it. If you want to see more about it, you can go to the web logitech.com/review. I'll give you the bad news first. It's $299. Now, the Apple TV's $99. The Roku's $99 or less. There are other choices. WT-TV, which is the Western Digital kind of media connector. That's less. But the Review is Google TV, and so it gives you more for that money, you're going to get something more. For instance, you get a full-size keyboard with a touchpad on it. You get a box that, is kind of a slender little black box that hooks up to your TV, just kind of similarly to the Roku or the Apple TV. But your television device, your cable or satellite box, goes into the Logitech box, the Review, which then goes into your TV. So the Review is in between your content and the television. And it can do things like search. So you can search for shows. Now, that gets important, because as we get internet television on here, your program guide, which is already out of control, let's face it. If you've ever tried to search your cable program guide, it's going to take days just to scroll through all those pages. Well, now you've got Google search on that, and so you could say, I want to see Hawaii Five-0, and you can find it not just on cable. If you've got a dish DVR, it's kind of a shame it only does this with a dish DVR, but it'll tell you if you've got a DVR recording of Hawaii Five-0. It will also look out on the internet, and it might find, TBS reruns on the internet. A lot of the internet companies are now streaming content on ABC, on CBS, Hulu Plus. Have you seen Hulu Plus? This does not support Hulu Plus. It's the one thing it doesn't support, although I'm sure negotiations are going on. It does have apps. You can also play music on it. Netflix is on it. So suddenly, Twitter, Napster. Napster's $5 a month for 8 million songs. So you pay $5 a month and you can listen to 8 million songs. Now, that makes sense, because a lot of people have their home theater systems are their stereo, right? So this thing is basically, it's not a computer, and I think that's important. It is a computer inside, but it doesn't act like a computer. It does have to have a keyboard, though. But here's a very interesting thing. You know, Logitech's known for their remote controls, the Harmony, right? That's why they think they could sell this for $299, because they sell their Harmonies for that much, $100 to $500. This will turn your Apple iPhone, your Google Android phone, or your iPad into a high-powered, fancy Harmony remote control. And you don't need the keyboard then, because you can search with your smartphone. You can even talk. So you can say into your Android or Apple phone, I want Hawaii 5-0. It will show up. Or you can find a YouTube thing on your phone and then send it to the TV. Now, I have some problems with all of these things. I mean, you look at that, you know, when you had 3 channels, it was really easy. You knew what was on. You knew when it was on. The television never crashed. You would go chunk. Of course, now we had to get up out of our seats to change the channel. Those were the bad old days, but it chunk and it would change the channel, and that would be there. Now, well, there's a lot more complexity, right? You've got a keyboard. You've got a... Now, stop it. Somebody in the chat room saying, 3 channels? How long ago was that, Leo? I know. It was a long time ago. So, but do we want a TV that can crash? Do we want a TV that can freeze up on you? I mean, that's what we're headed towards. But the benefit is suddenly huge amounts of content. And I'll tell you, cable companies have to be shaken in their boots, because most of this content is not high-priced premium content. In fact, it could be HBO. I think HBO is moving very close to this. Depends on their cable contracts. Cable companies won't let them do this, but HBO would love to sell it to you direct. You want The Sopranos? Just buy The Sopranos. You don't have to have a cable. You just have to have the bandwidth. We are at the beginning. Big change. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number. We're talking. This is, I think, a fascinating sea change we're about to go through here. And you're going to see, you know, not only is Roku, Apple, for sure, you know, Google involved in this, but, you know, and Sony's going to put this Google TV in there. Samsung has its own internet connection. A lot of TVs now have Ethernet jacks. This is happening now. And it's going to shake out in some weird, wild way, but it's going to be a fascinating ride. And ultimately, we have to remember, what is it we want? Somebody in the chat room said, you know, I don't even want to watch the whole Letterman show. I just want to watch a part of it. And we're telling the companies that right now with YouTube. If you go to the Comedy Central website, let's say you want to watch the Colbert Report. I did this the other day. There was an interview on Colbert Report I wanted to watch. I didn't have to watch the whole show. They're smart. They put an ad in front of it. They still get their money's worth. But they just show me that thing I want. The content creators are saying, look, we'd like to do this direct to the consumers. It's the intermediaries, the middlemen that are trying to desperately save their business. Just as the same way the record companies, which essentially were intermediaries, were middlemen between you and the musicians, want to save their business. There's a word for it. It's been going around for about a decade in the circles of people who cover the internet. It's called disintermediation. It's a terrible phrase. I love saying it, though. These companies mediate. These HBO, and actually worse, Time Warner and Comcast, mediate between the content company and the viewer. HBO is even a mediator, really, if you think about it. I mean, they put up money for productions, but not all their stuff is produced by them. If you produce a show like True Blood, if you didn't have to go through HBO and Comcast to get it into my house, you could sell it directly to me. Maybe you'd prefer to do that, because each middleman takes a little chunk of that profit. Disintermediation. And the thing is, we've seen this happen. It happened in the travel industry. Travel agents are gone. You buy direct from the airplanes now. They fly. You don't buy from the airplane because they don't sell from the. Not yet. I mean, there's a limit to disintermediation. I don't think pilots are going to start selling you airplane tickets. But it's. I wouldn't want to be in the travel agency business. All of our video stores are shutting down here in my little town of Petaluma. There's nobody left. You can think of a lot of businesses where disintermediation's already happened, and it's certainly happening in content. And you can also think of businesses where it's not happening. Everybody thought real estate buying houses would be disintermediated. Because what do you need a real estate agent for? You can search for the house, you can find the house, you negotiate it all online. Well, it turns out you kind of do want somebody to do that for you. There's a lot of paperwork. So there are limitations. Maybe if HBO wanted to save its business, maybe if Comcast wanted to save its business, they just didn't add to the paperwork. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's talk about that. Anything on your mind? I'm here to help you make this digital transition in your life. That's what I do. Starting with BJ in Las Vegas, Nevada. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, BJ.
Hey, Leo. What's up?
Well, I'm just sitting here hanging out, talking about tech every Saturday. It seems like that's my life. Well, it is my life. What can I do for you?
I kind of wanted to talk to you, excuse me, about what you're already talking about with TV shows and stuff. I have, completely given up cable. I don't really watch anything off TV anymore. Everything is through, pretty much through iTunes now.
Oh, you just sent a chill up the Comcast's collective spines of Comcast executives. But you're not alone. You're not alone. More and more people are doing that.
Well, I don't really watch sports. I don't need to pay, right, for 3 channels of ESPN.
I'll tell you something. Even Major League Baseball and National Basketball Association, and I suppose the NFL at some point, are also saying, "Oh, what do we need these guys for? We'll sell direct." You can buy on the Google TV NBA and watch games. Not only can you watch games, you can watch both sides. You can watch the home team announcer or the visiting team announcer. You can do that with Major League Baseball on Roku. So even live events, you produce the Academy Awards, do it on demand via the internet. Now, here's the problem. Where do you get your bandwidth, BJ?
Oh, I'm still getting mine basically through Comcast,
right?
Through my cable company. So
you're Comcast's worst nightmare, because instead of buying the bits at retail, the premium bits, you're buying them wholesale. And American Idol or Joe's webpage, it's all the same to you. It's all bits, and they can't charge you more than $60 a month for those bits. Yeah,
well, my question is, where do I put all those bits now that I've downloaded them?
Well, and that's an interesting thing. I think the movie industry, the content creators, are really pushing the consumer electronics industry away from storing stuff, right? Because that's how opens the door to piracy. If I've got a digital copy on a hard drive of a show, I'm going to be trying like the dickens to get it off that and put it on a DVD. And as everybody in the movie industry in Hollywood knows, we're all a bunch of thieves, dirty, rotten scoundrels, and we're gonna have a blanket on our back, our front lawn, and sell these CDs, to the neighbors. So what they want you to do is, and notice the Apple TV, no storage, Roku box, no storage, Google TV, no storage. The idea is you find what you want and you stream it.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of the exact opposite. I want to go buy what I want. I want to have it on my shelf, that I can watch it whenever.
Yeah, Apple spent a lot of energy saying people want to own music. That's why they don't do subscription on the iTunes Store. Let me talk about massive media storage solutions. Hang on, BJ. We'll be right back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo, we're talking with BJ in Vegas about the best way to store a bunch of stuff. You still there, BJ?
I'm still here, Leo.
So you have how much stuff?
I have got a ton of stuff. I was just looking while we were on break. My music library, which has like a ton of audiobooks in it, has 27,000 items. It's like 143 gigs. The TV shows that I have in iTunes is 836 episodes and 430 gigs.
Yeah, you can see the TV takes up a lot of space, doesn't it?
Yes, and that's what I mostly watch, and I'm in the middle of trying to rip, tons and tons of DVDs of, my favorite TV shows so that they're available on my Apple TVs. And I've come to a point where I've, filled up the main hard drive in my computer. I've filled up my main backup drive that I have right next to it, and now I'm working on a 2 terabyte drive to try and hold all this stuff so that it's available. When I'm cooking dinner, it's nice to be able to flip through Apple TV and pick out a TV show and watch it.
Right. Now, you notice Apple's not letting you buy TV shows anymore. They've turned to rental.
Well, you can still buy them if you do it through iTunes on the computer.
Just not on the Apple TV. I got it. Yeah.
I've got the old Apple TV, the hot plate, not the little hockey pucks.
It does look like a hot plate, and it feels like a hot plate, too, actually.
It feels like a hot plate. Hot.
I mean, things like Carbonite are bad solutions for this because you have so much data. At some point, it becomes, impractical to upload it over the internet. You need local storage. So
my thought was to buy like another external hard drive, copy everything on it, and then give it to a friend, and use like Pogo Plug just to sync new updates.
What I would suggest when you start getting these really large bundles of stuff you want to save, once it gets over a few terabytes, you want to go to a multi-drive solution, either RAID, which stands for a redundant array of inexpensive drives, or a pseudo-RAID like a Drobo. Drobo is basically, these devices are as a category called NAS, or Network Attached Storage Devices. They're really little computers, but they're headless. They don't have keyboards, mice, or monitors. They hook up to the LAN, the Ethernet, and they usually contain many, many drives, minimum of 2. 4 is typical. There's a Drobo, a big Drobo that has 8 drives, 8 2-terabyte drives in it. So what is that, 16 terabytes? And you get 2 benefits by having multiple drives. One, they're faster because they stripe the writing across drives. So it writes, you don't have to wait. There's a little bit of latency in all hard drives as you wait as the thing spins around again. This is happening so fast that you probably don't notice it, but it can add over time. It can add considerably to the speed of the drive. So that's called drive latency, and you eliminate that by saying, well, write to drive 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then back to 1 again, which has come around. The head has come around. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So striping across drives speeds up writes. It can speed up reads as well, but not as much. And then you also use the extra drives for redundancy. So you store data twice. That's called mirroring. In RAID 5 and Drobos, it's a little more sophisticated than that, but that's what you get. Speed improvements and data redundancy. And the point being, if a drive fails, and all drives fail, right? If everything's on one drive and that drive fails, it's dead, you're gone. But if you have it on a RAID solution and one drive fails, you can just put a new drive in, it rebuilds, and you haven't lost a bit. So, and I forgot the most important thing from your point of view. 4 drives means 4 times the storage. So
the other important thing that I have is I don't want to have iTunes running on my computer 24/7.
Right. So that's what this was. Oh, yeah, I'm so glad you said that. So that's what these NAS drives do, is they run an iTunes server. So you put all your music, movies, and stuff on this NAS, this network attached storage. It's sitting somewhere. As long as you can get Ethernet to it. I have a big Drobo FS, which is their version of the network attached storage, in a cupboard, closed up. It's still a little noisy because when you have 5 drives going, it's noisy, but it's closed up. And everything's on there, all the music, all the movies, and everything. It's not on any computer. It's on that. And that has a iTunes server on it. It also has a Windows Media Server and other plugins so that different systems can see the content and play it over the network.
Okay, and when I'm shopping for one of those, does it say iTunes server on the box? Or
Yes, it should. Make sure it says it. I'll give you 2 brands that I like. Drobo's one. And the Drobo FS, you have to download an iTunes server extension, but it has it. That's one. And then I'm a big fan, and I think for this maybe it might be more appropriate, of the ReadyNAS line from Netgear.
Okay.
And those are really great. Now, you attach one of those to the network. The ReadyNAS will have backup software on it that you just set up, and it backs up what you want from all the different systems. I would suggest not deleting iTunes from your local system, only because it's a backup. By having that, you have 2 copies of it. And you still may want to do a backup. I mean, just because this is redundant doesn't mean you can't lose everything in a fire.
Right. No, I'm worried about fire and theft.
All of that stuff you still have to do. So maybe you buy 2 of them and you rotate them in and out or something, and take one to mom's. But whatever you do, you need off-site. But these solutions are more than just a backup solution. It's really about consolidating all the media into a central place in the house that has lots of storage. It is available to everything else, including an Apple TV, a Roku box, or whatever it is. Xbox 360 does really well with these devices, for instance.
Okay. Well,
all right.
Very good.
Hey, thanks for the call. Good to talk to you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Bill on the line from Orange County. He has a brand new router, one of them fancy routers that does all that stuff. What's the brand name of that, Bill?
It's the Valet Plus.
The Valet Plus. They call it the Valet because you like push a button, it does everything for you, and it's automatic.
Exactly, easy to set up.
Yeah, except when it doesn't work.
It's we use a PS3 to stream the Netflix on my TV, and I can choose the movies that I want to see, but then it says unable to watch this movie at this time. I switched back to my old router, and it works fine. So I try to play around, but I can't get it to go, and Cisco didn't seem to have the answer.
Well, usually when that happens, it's a port issue, right? There are, how can I describe ports? Ports are like, you have 65,000 of them, but they're virtual. The idea is it's a virtual connection. So, remember in the old telephone switchboard, you'd see the operator there she'd have a cable with a plug in it, and somebody would call and say, connect me to the hospital, and she'd take the plug and plug it into the hospital's hole, and then there'd be a connection. That's what a port is, basically. It's virtual, but it's like a physical connection, and you have 65,000 of them, and different stuff on the internet uses different ports. Now, in this case, Netflix uses port 80, which is the standard HTTP port. It's the browser port. So I'm sure that's not blocked because you wouldn't be able to browse at all.
Right.
However, and I suspect this is what's going on, just for control of Netflix, it uses port 443, which is the SSL port. And so you can watch the movie, but you can't tell Netflix anything. So you can't get the movie started if port 443 isn't open. I would guess that as part of the valet service, it's locking your thing down, right? And among other things, it's probably locking down ports that you might want to use. I would go into your control mechanism and make sure that port 443, the SSL port, is unblocked. And I'm almost positive that's what's going on.
Okay.
So that's the negative of a valet, right? The valet is nice because it does everything for you, but it's kind of opaque. You don't know exactly what it's done, and in some cases, it might be over-aggressive.
Okay, so you don't like them too much.
I'm not against it, and I'll tell you, you can get in so much trouble with a router, and it is nice to have a lockdown router. You're much more secure because of the valet, but then occasionally you're going to run into things like this.
Okay, Leo.
But that's what I'm here for, Bill.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks for the call. Take care. Hey, here he is, ladies and gentlemen. He's back in New York at Disneyland. Dick DeBartolo, Matt's maddest writer, and our gadget guru, the GizWiz. Hey, Dick.
How you doing?
Fantastic. How was your flight back? You got back okay?
The flight back was good. Unfortunately, they substituted the giant plane on one leg for a regular jet.
So you didn't get that lie flat seat that you got on the way out.
I didn't get my sleeping seat thing. But that's okay. It was fun being out there, trust me.
We loved having you out here. We did. All except for we took Dick to a restaurant.
Did you go by and see if it's ready yet?
We all ordered steaks, and Dick doesn't eat steak, and he eats chicken. So he ordered a chicken, and we all got our steaks, and we're sitting there. Poor Dick is sitting there. It's like 10 people, and he's sitting there all by himself. Nothing, nothing in front of him. Looking kind of, a little tear came to his eye. I was kind of sad.
Yeah. Well, at a separate table. I was at the children's table.
Well, that's why. And so the waitress comes over and says, it's going to be a minute for your chicken. And this was the giveaway. Can we give you a prime rib instead? Free. Yeah. They offered you a free prime rib, but you said no. To your credit, I'm holding out for the chicken marsala. And finally, the manager came over and said, well, we have to get the chicken. We don't have any chicken. So it took them like half an hour.
Yeah, they ran over Kentucky Fried 2 miles down.
It was good. Did they get the extra crispy you asked for?
Yeah, I got the triple bypass. Their new sandwich.
That new sandwich. It's all meat all the time.
Oh,
so right. Dick does a daily show on my podcast network called The Daily GizWiz. And, I have to say, Dick, sometimes you do silly stuff. But that's when I like it. It's not always like the obvious gadget. Sometimes it's unusual. What do you got for us today?
Today we have the Beedol, B-E-D-O-L, water-powered alarm clock.
My point exactly.
Yes, exactly. So when this clock stops running, you don't say, oh, I have no more AA batteries. I have no D batteries. I bet you have water in the sink. So you just fill the reservoir with water, and it runs.
What? On tap water?
On tap in New York City, the tap water it glows in the dark. I don't know what they're putting in our water.
Oh, it's a nuclear clock.
Nuclear clock. No, the water goes into two different chambers, and it uses ions in the water to develop electricity. And I've been running one now for about 3 weeks. This one has an alarm clock and can be 12 hours or 24 hours. It's the biggest one they made. It can run 16 weeks on one filling, and they make a little smaller version, runs 2 months for $29. It's shaped like a water droplet.
Is it? It's in every other respect a normal alarm clock. I mean, it's accurate.
Yes, exactly. Big digital numbers on it. So it's a real easy way to repower it. And talk about a carbon footprint. You're not using much here.
None.
Now,
on the other hand, if the alarm clock fails and you're late for work, you have to tell your boss, "Oh, I'm sorry, my alarm clock ran out of water."
I ran out of water. Yeah, there was a water main broke. A water main break just laid my alarm clock.
I guess you could say I ran out of juice, and that's good. Then they wouldn't know.
That would cover everything.
Dick's website is gizwiz.biz. You can play his What the Heck Is It contest there. A chance to win an autographed copy of the December Mad magazine. Always a lot of fun.
Fans are going to follow me on Twitter.
Yeah, now Dick's birthday's coming up, and he has one dream only.
My dream is to have 10,000 followers.
And how many do you have now?
4.
You want 6,000 new followers on Twitter?
No. I have,
you know that you know that, Dick, that right now, as we speak, there are 1 million people listening.
Okay, I have 8,500 followers.
Okay, so all you need is 1,500 more.
1,500 followers by October 19th. That's my birthday wish.
So if everybody who's listening right now goes to Twitter and follows, what is your handle?
The Gizwiz.
TheGizWiz. You can make this little boy happy for his birthday.
Oh. And next year I can sit at the adult table.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Have a great Geek Week, everybody. Well, a good day to you, Leo Laporte here, the tech guy, and it's time to talk computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders. I'm going to hang out my shingle. The doctor is in. Home theater, digital photography, anything with a chip in it, that's what I'm here to talk about. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. Outside the U.S., I want you to call via Skype or Gizmo or some other VoIP client. You just call 888-827-5536. We'd love to hear from you. I'm going to open up my control panel right now, and we can start getting those phone calls in. Meanwhile, a couple of things to talk about. We talked yesterday about Google TV, and we can talk again today about that for those of you. Most of the radio stations don't take both Saturday and Sunday. Some of you do, but for those of you who don't hear both shows, I always feel guilty because we've moved on, but we can continue the conversation if you have some interest in it. On the idea that the internet is coming to your television. Most TVs now have, at least big screen TVs have Ethernet jacks on them. Many of them from Samsung and Panasonic and Sony will have software in there that allow you to just, tune in internet content, including this show, as a matter of fact. TiVo, you can watch this show after the fact on TiVo because the TiVos now have internet access as well. And this week, Google announced its Google TV. Actually, they announced it before, but the Logitech device, which is the first standalone device, it was announced and will be available later this month. So if you wanted the Google TV functionality, Sony announced it a couple of weeks ago. It'll be on some new Sony Bravias. The Dish Network says, yeah, we're going to build it into our DVRs. And now Logitech will sell a box called the Logitech Review for $2.99 that you plug into your system. Your TV plugs into the back of it, and your cable box or whatever plugs into the other one. It's HDMI. And now you can use your Android phone or they have a special, typewriter-style keyboard, and you can do searches, you can program it, all sorts of stuff. And, of course, when the search happens, when you make a search, if you search for The Daily Show, it'll say, well, you could watch it tonight on Comedy Central at 11 o'clock, or you could watch it on the ComedyCentral.com site Or you could watch it on Hulu if the Hulu were on there. Actually, Hulu's not on there. That's an interesting story. Hulu, which was created by Fox and NBC, at least funded by, created by a third party, but funded by Fox and NBC, has this Hulu Plus thing, which you can get on the iPhone and the iPad. But they really fight against these other guys. They've actually blocked Google TV. They said no, 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 and Google's negotiating with them. They blocked the Boxy Box. They blocked a lot of different ways. But we're seeing the bottom line on this is ultimately we're seeing an opportunity to get your television not from the cable, not from the satellite, but from your internet connection. And that's a real change. It may be moving us towards the holy grail of television viewing. A la carte purchasing, where you buy the show you want. Not the channel, not even, and most of the time you're not even buying a channel, you're buying a bundle. With 13 channels you don't want, one channel you do. And that's how the cable companies make their money. Well, we're moving away from that, aren't we? Just the same way we moved away from buying a whole album. Remember, they used to fill up the CD with junk, and you had one good song on that record, and you'd want that one good song, you had to buy the whole CD. Well, now, thanks to iTunes, 99 cents, you can buy any individual song. Artists may not like it. Record companies definitely don't like it. But, in fact, we have a la carte music purchasing. And I think we're moving towards that with TV and shows. And we're also moving towards disintermediation. I told you about that word yesterday. That's the idea that the cable companies and even the cable channels, which are intermediaries between you and the content creators, are getting shoved aside, and we're buying directly, just as we buy directly from musicians now in many cases. We're buying direct with record companies. We're intermediaries. We're buying directly from the content creators. It's called disintermediation. And it's one of the things the Internet's very good at. So we can talk about that. $299, a little expensive for that Logitech box, but I ordered one. I'll let you know when I get it, but whether it's worth the money. Seems like it has some nice features. It'll work with your Android phone or your iPhone. Suddenly your Android phone or your iPhone becomes a fancy Harmony remote. I like that idea. The other thing I wanted to talk about, the other big story of the week, is Facebook. Facebook made a couple of big changes this week. One that I highly applaud, and I think that I've been very critical of Facebook. I've been critical of their shifting policies of privacy. When Facebook first started, when most of us joined Facebook, the idea of Facebook was, don't worry, put all your private stuff in here. You will control who gets to see it. Only people you say can see it can see it. That was the promise, and as a result, many of us uploaded everything, pictures, phone numbers, whatever, stuff that we would say, I don't want the public to see this, but my friends, I want them to know my cell phone number. But then over the period of time, Facebook kind of realized, it seems, that there was more money to be made in having your stuff be public. That it's a better model for them. I think they looked at Twitter and they said, look at how great Twitter works. Everything you put on Twitter is by default public. People decide to follow you. You don't even get to say who follows you. And if they follow you, they're seeing your stuff. And there's all sorts of things Twitter can do with that information because of it. Twitter can aggregate all that information, sort through it, say what's big, what's happening, what's hot. They can sell advertisers keywords, all sorts of stuff that Facebook kind of had some hard time doing. So they started changing their policies, changing them quite rapidly, changing them quite complexly. And you remember very famously last spring, I said, that's it, I'm done. I'm going to make a protest, a symbolic protest. I'm leaving Facebook. Well, I think Facebook's responded to those criticisms. For one thing, they did simplify their privacy policies considerably. I rejoined Facebook because I realized I can't cover Facebook without having an account. So when Facebook introduced Places, I said, well, I have to be on here to see. And Places had some problems because Places, unless you go into your privacy policy, Facebook Places is that thing. I think it's still only on the iPhone, although there are tricks that you can get it on your web page as well. But it lets you check into a place. Say, I'm here at the Tech Guy Studios. But it also allowed you to check random other people in. And if they didn't set their permissions properly, you would be announcing to the world who else was there with you, which is fine if you're checking into the Tech Guy Studios. Not so great if you're checking into, a strip club. Not so good. Not so good. So they got a little criticism for that, although people seem to be using the Places feature and happy with it. This week, Facebook did one thing that's really great, one thing that could be great but has some problems. The great thing is Facebook now says you can download all the stuff you've ever put on Facebook in a zip file, and it's yours. It's downloaded in a web page as an HTML file, and it's yours. So if you decide you want to leave Facebook now, you can get all the pictures, everything you've ever posted on Facebook, you can download it and you've got it. Or let's say you just want to archive it. You know, Facebook sometimes blocks people's pages. If they decide that what you're doing is, you know, spammy, for instance, they'll just kick you off. You have some recourse, but not a lot, and you may lose all your data, you know, and it can happen. I've heard it happen to people. So the idea that you could keep an archive of your Facebook data, and I recommend you do this every month or so, just get all your Facebook data. I've been using a feature, a company called Backupify, to do that, but you know, you have to pay money to do it, and I don't think Facebook really cooperates too much with Backupify. They have to what's called scrape the Facebook page, scrape the stuff off of it. Now Facebook's saying, okay, if you want, we can make it easy for you to download all your stuff. It is, after all, your stuff, isn't it? You can even download, and this is a little sketchier, photos you're tagged in, so that they're pictures of you, but not pictures you took. You can get those too. And some people might say, wait a minute, that's my picture. Hold on there. Now, Facebook did another thing that I applauded initially, but now I see there is a little bit of a problem with. It's this Facebook groups. One of the things Facebook would really like you to do, because it gives them more data about your social graph, and it also is a great way to control what is going on Facebook for you, is create lists of friends. You know, there's that feature. You can go through your friends and say, these people are my family, these people are college buddies, these people I used to work with. You know, actually organize people into these lists. But nobody uses them because it's a lot of work. Mark Zuckerberg has said several times, nobody wants to make lists. They realize that. So they've been trying to figure out another way that you could easily categorize people. Why would you want to do that? Well, Google actually did a great presentation which they explained why this was a problem, because Facebook kind of interprets everybody as the same. You know, if they're a friend, they're a friend, and they see everything you do. But there's different groups. Let's say you're a school teacher, and some of your friends are your students. Some of your friends are your college buddies. Some of your friends are your drinking buddies. Now, you don't want pictures of you going out to the bars visible to your students necessarily. Some would say, well, you shouldn't be going to bars. Well, you have a personal life. Maybe you don't want whatever your personal life is to impinge on what your students see, but you'd still like to have them all be on your Facebook page. Well, there you go. That's where Facebook just really didn't give you any we call it granularity, any ability to distinguish between different kinds of friends. Even the lists feature, you know, kind of didn't really give you that kind of capability. So they've created groups, and that's the idea. Now you can create a group. It has to be somebody who you are friends with, and you can add them to your group. And so you can have different groups, and you can show photos of different events to different groups. Pictures of the school play to the students. Pictures of the party to your bar buddies. There's a problem, however, which showed up right away. I'll talk about that in a second. 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We go to the phones next. Bow, wow, zow. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo's the number. Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guy, coming up in just a little bit. Just to finish my Facebook thing, I kind of ran out of time there. So these groups are great, except we all noticed one thing, that you can add anybody who's your friend to a group without asking, without their permission. They're all of a sudden, they're just added to the group. And if it's a popular group, they get a lot of email right away, because the default for the groups is that you get email for everybody who joins, everybody who posts, anything. You get a slew of email. So all of us, all of a sudden, who were added to groups, and I was added to a couple of groups. There was a tech news bloggers and reporters group that Robert Scoble created that he added. There's 100 people there. All of a sudden, all the tech news bloggers in there are complaining, hey, I don't want all the... There's a tech leaders and influencers group he created that has 608 people. We're all getting email. We don't want it. So you can go in if you're added to a group. You can go in, edit settings. You can do a couple of things. You can turn off email notifications. In fact, if you go to your group-wide notifications, you could turn off notifications group-wide, and that's the first thing I did. Although you might want to email when somebody adds you to a group because you might want to know. Now, Facebook responded to this. They said, well, look, nobody can add you to a group unless they're your friend. Presumably, you don't make friends with people you don't, trust. Well, that's not the case at all, is it? So I think that perhaps Facebook's assuming a little more. I think there are a lot of people, and the problem is a lot of celebrities who friend anybody who asks. You can only have 5,000 friends. Maybe this is Facebook's way of saying you shouldn't be doing that. Because there are people who have friended everybody who asks, and now have a lot of friends who have a lot of power because they aren't really friends. Maybe you want to rethink that strategy. I don't know. We'll see if Facebook changes it. However, exciting. I do think groups is a great thing. I do applaud Facebook for making it possible for us to download all our Facebook stuff. That's great. Some big news, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, about Apple and iPhone 4. There is another problem. My friend Ryan Block over at the Gadget blog, gdgt.com, has pinpointed what Apple thinks is a very serious problem with iPhone cases. Oh, man. I have not experienced this problem, but Ryan says a lot of people have, and Apple's in lockdown. That's the word you used. Lockdown mode to solve this. We'll see what that's all about. But I got to take some calls because we got a lot of people on the line, including Terry, who's been waiting. She's from Mississippi since yesterday. Hi, Terry. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo.
Thank you for being so patient.
Oh, I didn't mind at all. You're doing me a favor.
Okay.
My mom is 83, and she lives in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
And I live 3.5 hours up the road outside of Jackson, Mississippi. Now, 99% of the problems when she calls me with her computer, I can close my eyes and visualize what she's talking about, or I can walk her through it when I'm at my own computer.
Right.
But there's always that 1 or 2% that I have no clue what she's talking about. How do I go remote to her computer and take control over it?
There are lots of ways to do this. Actually, Terry, you're in a very common situation. Almost everybody who listens to this show is sophisticated enough to be helping family and friends who aren't. Right? This is everybody listening to the show is the tech support person for somebody. There's a very famous video that TMZ had of John Mayer. You know, the guy who sings those songs. Your body is a wonderland. There's a picture, the video of him. I'll play a little bit of this out front of a concert. He's on the phone with his dad, trying to help his dad with his computer. I don't know if you can hear it. There's a lot of street noise.
You know what system preferences are?
He says,
System preferences.
System preferences, Dad.
Okay. What do you see?
Okay.
Top left of your screen.
Top left of your screen.
Dad, listen to what I'm telling you to do. I didn't do anything to the computer. I haven't been home.
He says, Dad, this is John. Look, everybody has this problem. He says, Dad, listen to what I'm telling you. System preference. Upper top. It's up on the left. I didn't do anything. And by the time you're done with this, you're going to tear your hair out, right? You would like some way, especially in a case like this, that you could just reach out and do it.
Well, I mean, it's to the point where I have to say, look at the monitor, and she says, the what? And I'll say, the TV screen.
Yeah. My wife's like this. My wife said, is there some way I can watch your show? I said, yes. Open your browser and surf to live.twit.tv. She said, what? She said, go slow. I said, well, the browser. She said, what's that? I said, well, there's a compass icon in your dock. Where's the dock? Well, the dock's on the left-hand side of the screen. Oh, that thing that slides in? Yeah. There's that compass. See that blue compass? Yeah, that. Click that. Okay. Now, go to live.twit.tv. Okay, how do I go to live? What do you mean go? Go how? And then on and on. We've all been there.
That's what I'm dealing with.
We've all been there. So, we have an advertiser, Go to Assist Express, that does exactly that. It's for tech support pros, though, and it can be a little expensive if it's just you and your mom. That's probably a little much. Is she on Windows or Mac?
She is on Windows 7. I just bought her a brand new computer, so she's struggling to learn 7 now.
Yeah, and you're on a Windows machine as well.
I'm also on Windows.
Okay. There's a free service is probably all you need. If you start needing more, go to assist.com/Leo. You can do it for 30 days free. There is a service from a company called Log Me In that's free called join.me. And I think this would probably do everything you need to do. join.me. Give that a try. And if not, go to assist.com/Leo. That's a little more powerful. Terry, thanks for the call. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Scott Wilkinson is here. He is our home theater guru, the editor-in-chief of the Ultimate AV magazine, which, like a lot of magazines, it was print for a long time. And then, nowadays it's online. It's up to date. You update every single day. I mean, it's a better way to do it.
That it really is.
It's what people want.
Print, I'm afraid, is more or less dead.
You know, we were talking yesterday about somebody called with, I thought, a great question. He said, what would happen if the internet went away? You know, if it failed somehow. And I talked about how unlikely that was. But I said, you know, if you ask the question, what would happen if the electrical grid failed? Well, that's the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
We're not quite so dependent on the internet, but as time goes by, we are in effect making ourselves more and more dependent on the internet. And for instance, all the print stuff's going away.
Yeah. I look at the magazines we still get at home here, and they're getting smaller and smaller, and the paper's getting cheaper and cheaper. A couple of exceptions to that, Vanity Fair, Vogue, but they've got so many ads still.
Well,
even for now, one wonders.
Wonders.
Newsweek, is 50-some pages. And It's like, whoa, because everybody's going online to get their stuff.
Yep. Just a matter of time.
Yeah, the same thing with TV. I heard the call yesterday.
Same thing.
At the beginning of the show about how people are going to the internet now for their TV, and I get tons of questions about that as well. And one guy in particular called me and asked what he wanted to ditch his cable company.
Everybody does. Nobody likes that $150 a month we're paying.
That's right. And so he wanted to go over the air and online. But he really wanted to keep his DVR functionality. He loved his DVR.
You don't need a DVR.
Well, with online stuff, you don't.
That's the beauty of it. It's on demand already.
That's right.
You watch it when you want. It's perfectly recorded. You don't have to worry about missing the last 2 minutes. It drives me crazy. Half the time I'll record a show. They do this on purpose,
Yeah.
They shift it a little bit so that you miss the beginning or you miss the end. It drives me nuts.
Yeah. Now, for over the air, I have always recommended TiVo. I just love the TiVo interface, at least the TiVo Series 3.
Yeah, no, that was the creme de la creme.
It was. Now, the TiVo Series, what they sometimes call Series 4 or Premier, has a different user interface. Which
you don't like it? I haven't seen it yet. It just came out a few months ago.
Yeah, that's right. I haven't actually seen it either, but our reviewer, David Vaughn, really didn't like it at all.
Interesting. They're using Flash in the interface now. They're making it more computer-like. How about those other boxes like Roku? Did you look at the Google TV that Logitech announced this week and stuff like that? I mean, that's really where we're headed, isn't it?
As a matter of fact, I haven't, but I am going to a Logitech event next week here in LA, which marks the launch of their products for Google TV. So I'm looking forward to looking at that right away. I also have been getting a few emails from a company called IVI.TV, which is saying that they are going to provide television programs at the same time as they are being broadcast. So it's streaming, and it's essentially broadcast TV, but it's coming over the internet as opposed to on demand. Now, I happen to think on demand is actually a really good thing. But they're saying, oh, well, on demand is after it's broadcast, so you're getting it late. And we're providing it to you at the same time as anybody watching broadcast is, so you're not getting it late.
Just so you know, IVI is being sued pretty much by everybody in broadcast television saying, no, you didn't. You're not going to broadcast our stuff.
That's right.
Of course, IVI sued them to start, so it's a mess. Don't expect this to take off in any minute.
No. Yeah. I'm just pointing it out as being another attempt.
Well, but what we're seeing is this battle between, and you're going to see the same thing with the cable companies because everybody's relying on them for bandwidth, but they don't want to just be, the $30 a month bandwidth provider. They want to sell you HBO.
Right.
So everybody's going to fight. You're going to see lawsuits like crazy. This is, you corner a tiger, expect a fight, and they are being cornered. Yeah,
it's the Wild West all over again, really, in the TV world and online. So I don't know where it's going to end up. But meanwhile, I still think, and I admit I'm a geek and a perfectionist, and I have not yet seen online content that matches anywhere near the quality of broadcast or satellite, which is what I typically use, or cable. Now, granted, those are broadcast and satellite. Cable and satellite are very expensive, but over-the-air broadcast is free.
You know, Google's doing an interesting thing. They partnered with Dish, or Logitech partnered with Dish for this Google TV, the Dish satellite network. And, I have Comcast cable right now, but I'm very tempted to get a Dish because the Logitech review allows searching of DVR content, but only if you use a Dish DVR. So they were smart to do this partnership. Dish might say, well, good, we can, but no matter what, they're keeping a dead model alive. They just might keep it alive a little longer, but ultimately,
it's on life support.
Yeah, it's on life support. I think.
Yeah,
I think we're all going to go digital, and we're going to get 1080p.
Yes, but again, even if we do get 1080p, if you don't have the bandwidth to your home to support it, then what good is it? I mean, this Ivy TV thing, I was looking at their website before the show today, and I was trying to determine, is it high def? Is it standard def? Is it whatever the cable provider or the broadcasters provide? And they said, well, the quality you see depends on your bandwidth.
Right.
And they have an auto algorithm, an automatic algorithm that downshifts or upshifts the content depending on what your bandwidth is. Now, in the United States, as you know, we are lagging far behind other countries in terms of generally available bandwidth to the home.
All of this stuff depends on bandwidth.
That's right. That's right. And so if you only have 3 megabits per second down, that is, into your home, you're not really going to see high def.
Right.
6 megabits is like the bare minimum, and I don't think even all that many people have 6 megs, unless you have Verizon Fios or AT&T Uverse, which provide you with 15, 20 megabits or so. But that's commonly available in South Korea. Everybody has 15 or 20 megabits. So
now when you see this helps people understand when you see things like Comcast saying we're going to cap your downloads at 250 gigabytes, or we're going to give you more bandwidth, but we are going to limit how much you can download. Now you see what the fight is. They want to give you all the bandwidth you want until you start watching TV over the internet.
Right.
And stop buying their content. And that's when they're going to say, no more.
Right. That actually makes a lot of sense from their perspective.
Yeah. Fast bandwidth, if it's just surfing, no problem. All the bandwidth you want for email. You better not be watching The Sopranos, though.
That's right.
We want to sell you HBO.
That's right.
Scott Wilkinson is here. He's the editor-in-chief of the Ultimate AV Magazine, ultimateavmag.com. Also answers questions for Home Theater Magazine, hometheatermag.com. Do you have some questions we can...
I do. Got tons.
Hang on the line. We're going to get to you and your questions. And, of course, Scott does a great podcast called Home Theater Geeks every Monday, 1:30 on our TWiT network, live.twit.tv. We're all twits on this network. Proud of it.
Indeed.
Twits and geeks. That's live.twit.tv at 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern, or you can just download it at twit.tv/HTG because you see you don't need a TiVo. You can get it whenever you want.
That's right.
Yes. You see, we're thinking about you and these things. Questions from listeners. What do you got for us?
The question of the day. Well, I've got several. Patrick Liu writes, is it worth the effort to install HDMI cables in the wall, given that they update the version so frequently?
Well, that's a good question. We're at 1.4a, right?
I believe 1.4b, actually. But listen,
I rest my case.
There's a couple of things about this. The cable itself, all it has to do is be able to convey a certain bandwidth. We were talking about bandwidth earlier, so here's another case of bandwidth. As long as it can carry 10.2 gigabits per second, I don't think that's going to change anytime in the near future. And 1.3 cables could do that. So 1.4 cables need to be able to do the same thing. As long as it can do that, and it has, reasonably good connectors at the end. Ideally, it would be certified by Simplay Labs, and they certify anything that passes these very basic requirements.
What about a crazy idea? What if you put Ethernet, Cat 6, high quality, really good Ethernet in there?
This was my next point. You've anticipated my next point. This is really what I recommend, because HDMI cables, even good ones, can't go more than 15, 20 feet reliably, and that's not going to get you very far in a wall. So if you're going to go in a wall, and you're probably going to be going more than 20 feet, maybe 30, 40, 50 feet, who knows, it's better to convert that HDMI to Cat 5 or Cat 6 or fiber optic, even more so, although that's more expensive, and have that Cat 5 or Cat 6 or fiber optic going through the wall, and that can go hundreds of feet. So that's really what I recommend.
And then you put Balins at each end, and they translate the HDMI to Ethernet. Yep. Scott Wilkinson, editor-in-chief of the Ultimate AV Magazine, ultimateavmag.com. We'll talk again next week.
You bet.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More calls right after this. Sorry about that, but we got we got it in. We got the commercial
on the market.
It's good.
Yeah.
Hey, I got an email from somebody who sent me a YouTube of somebody playing, I think, Ravel's Bolero on the Vuvuzela.
Oh no!
That's the one. That's exactly right.
I guess because there's no key change in it.
Right. That's one thing. And another thing is they're using a lot of false notes. You can sort of fake notes in between the real notes, the resonant modes of the thing. And these guys are from Germany, and they're actually doing a pretty good job of faking a bunch of notes between the real resonant
How would
modes.
you fake it? I don't know.
You have to move your lips in a certain way. You kind of have to force it to vibrate in. There it is. There it is right there.
Das ist Uwe, das ist Stefan, ich bin Helge. Zusammen sind wir die.
Wait till you hear this. This
The
is
Vuvuzela group of the concert house.
this is not. I think the first one is not the Ravel. It's something else. I can't remember what it is.
But those are just the cheap old Vuvuzelas.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And he's talking about it, and he's going to say he's demonstrating how you buzz your lips, which is very good, actually.
This is so funny. And look where they are. They're like in some.
There, he's buzzing his lips exactly as you would into a Vuvuzela. And here he's going to play a note.
That's good.
That's good. That's the real note. That's a real resonant
that's the B flat normal Vuvuzela.
Right. Correct.
It's a little shofarish.
Exactly. That's very good. Exactly right.
Wir spielen jetzt für Zeit Online den vierten Satz aus Brahms' erster Sinfonie, den berühmten.
Oh, the Vuvuzela Chorale from Johannes Brahms.
Brahms.
I didn't know he wrote it for. Oh God, I'm sorry. That's enough. So those high and low notes are false notes. They're like
that high one is probably right. Ba, ba,
oh, so it has to be an octave.
Ba, ba. That third note is a false note. He's tweaking his lips in order to play that note.
Oh dear.
And notice they only played a few bars.
Yeah, because they're going to pass out otherwise.
They're extremely high into the Vuvuzela range.
Yeah.
These guys must be French horn players, because only French horn players can really get up into the very high range of
because of the velocity, because of the lips.
It's because of the lip pressure and tension in the muscles of the lip. It has to go very, very high. Here they're going to play Bolero.
Bolero has a perfect solo for the Vuvuzela because it's only one note.
Right. And he's actually playing the drum part and the violin part.
Right.
Which is as you sang. Here he goes.
Now he's going to have to do the high note.
All those notes that he's playing are fake notes.
Yeah, no, I can tell. And it's hard to keep on tune, isn't it?
It's very hard.
They need auto-tune. But the low end, the drum thing,
is perfect because it's right on one of the resonant modes.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Exactly right.
Scott, once again, you have amused and entertained and informed.
Yes, very good. Now, just FYI, if you want to make a note of it, Saturday, November 6th, I will be in your neck of the woods and ready to do the whole show.
We'll do the whole show, November 11/6. I'm going to put that in the calendar.
Oh, and by the way, I forgot to say happy 10-10-10 today.
I haven't said it yet either.
Today is 10-10-10.
Yes. How exciting.
So anyway, yes, November the 6th, I will be in Petaluma and ready and willing and happy to do the whole show with you.
Thanks, Scott.
My pleasure.
See ya.
Bet. Bye.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, that's the phone number. Scott's going to join us November 6th for a whole show, a whole 3 hours of home theater. So put that on your calendar. November 6th, that's a Saturday. We will do an entire 3 hours of, oh boy, home theater stuff. And of course, as I mentioned, he does a podcast that is unabashedly geeky about home theater. That's Home Theater Geeks. You can find that at twit.tv/HTG. Chris in the UK, calling from Kent in England. Hi, Chris. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello, Leo. I signed up for a Squarespace blog because I saw you were advertising them last week when I tuned in.
That's great. Now, does it work in the UK? I don't even, sometimes, unfortunately, advertisers are national. They have yet to gone global. So a lot of, even though podcasting and even now radio broadcasting is international, as you're proving, when we do Audible ads, for instance, we do ads for audible.com, which is the U.S. Audible, and the books aren't the same. The deals aren't the same at audible.uk, even though it's the same company. And so Squarespace works fine in the UK. That's good to know.
I'm on a trial at the moment, and next.
Well, that's another reason we encourage the trial. In case it doesn't work.
Yeah. So I like that. One thing I'm going to ask is I'm looking to start podcasting, and I've looked at this Snowball microphone. It's in the Apple Store.
I do not recommend the Snowball.
No?
It is from a company called Blue, which makes very good microphones, very high-end microphones. The Snowball was their first USB microphone. However, it lacks something we call headroom. It breaks up very easily. So if you get loud, the microphone fails. It starts to crackle and sound bad. So It's not my favorite microphone. Blue makes one that's a little bit better, a little bit bigger. That's actually a lot better. It's an amazing microphone. It's called the Yeti.
And how's that spelled?
BLUYETI, like the abominable snowman. Actually, it's BLUE. And it's also a USB mic. You need a USB mic because you can't hook a Pro mic up to a computer.
No.
But the Yeti is great, and I don't think it's much more expensive than the Snowball. They've kind of replaced the Snowball, I think, with this.
Also, you were talking about the Google TV, and it's quite interesting that the amount of boxes you have in America, where over here, we just have the Apple TV. That's all we have.
Right.
And that's a great concept, but obviously, over here we have we've got the BBC, we've got BBC iPlayer, so we can play back on demand things. That's not integrated into Apple TV.
But you do at least, and of course it's only BBC content, right? Channel 4 is not on. Other independent broadcasters are on.
Channel 4 and 5 have got their own little versions on their site.
So that's. I think iPlayer is great. In fact, I've been told we can't get it in the States. There's an example of something that is only in the UK, but I've been told that they will open up to the States soon.
And have you seen the news that Apple's blocking Spotify in the US? Because that's quite big in the UK.
Yes.
And I love Spotify.
Yeah, everybody outside the U.S. loves Spotify, which is a music subscription service, which we can't get here in the U.S. And this all of this comes down to Audible.com books, Spotify with music, iPlayer with TV. It all comes down to digital rights. And the people who own the rights make deals on a country-by-country basis. So if I write a book, if I write Harry Potter, I wish I'd written Harry Potter. If I were J.K. Rowling and I wrote Harry Potter, I go in the UK, I find a publisher. It's Penguin. And Penguin publishes it in the UK. I go to the United States. Penguin doesn't publish it. Scholastic publishes it. Different company. So when I want an audiobook, Penguin records it in the UK. Stephen Fry does the voice. Scholastic records it in the US. Jim Dale does the voice. You can't get the Jim Dale version in the UK. I can't get the Stephen Fry version in the US. And that drives me crazy because as good as Jim Dale is, I love Stephen Fry.
And it's quite interesting because I'm looking at the cloud, and the iTunes Apple in the cloud. But
the internet knows no boundaries, does it?
It's so Apple has tipped themselves off the street to say we're doing it because they don't want Spotify.
Right.
They don't want Spotify because then.
Well, the record in the case of Spotify, it's the record labels that are not making a deal in the U.S. That's all. You have to make a deal with the record companies. They own the content. Apple TV, has two things on it. It has Netflix, which you can't get in the UK.
That's right.
And it has iTunes, which you can, but it's not the same content. Some of the records are the same and some of them are not. And so this is just, we're in this in-between period where digital rights has not caught up with the capabilities of the internet. The internet knows no boundaries. Digital rights is all about boundaries.
And the methods that are put in place to stop piracy actually do more harm to the average consumer than the pirates.
Look, if Stephen Fry does a great show in England called, is it QI?
Yeah, I watch that as QI. I love that.
I'm dying to see this show. All I can see is pirated versions of it.
Yeah.
Because this would find a huge audience in the U.S. It would be very popular, but the BBC does not make it available, or Channel 4. I don't know who does it, but whoever does it doesn't make it available. And there's no way we can watch it. So we have to steal it. Well, there's something wrong there. Don't make me a thief. I want to watch it. I'd pay to watch it, but don't.
It's another thing. If you go to sport, like I watch a lot of Formula One, and Bernie Ecclestone, who runs Formula One, there's no way once it's been on the TV and it's been on iPlayer for like 7 days, you can't watch it again.
But if you're willing to be a pirate, as soon as anything's on TV, it is immediately on the internet in illegal form. And I think what has to happen is that the television companies, the record companies, the movie companies have to realize they're worried about the wrong thing. The competition is the free version you can download illegally. And all they're doing is teaching people how to do it. When they don't put the Beatles on iTunes, when EMI says, no digital version because we're worried about pirates, all they're really saying is, go ahead, steal it. Because there's no legitimate way to buy it.
I think there's a question asked to Steve Jobs once at All Things D, and one of the audience members bought a Blu-ray in a shop, and it came with a digital download. But she couldn't, once she put it on her iPad, she couldn't display that on her TV because of the rights management.
Right.
So she said, download it from Pirate Bay and re-encode it and put it on her TV.
Of course! She stole it. Chris, great to talk to you. Thank you for listening in the UK.